Hello, today is Thursday, April 22nd, 2022. My name is Megan Rodriguez. I'm interviewing Vicente Mendoza for the South Texas Archives at Texas A&M University-Kingsville. This is part of the Voces of a Pandemic Oral History Project in partnership with the Voces Oral History Center at the University of Texas at Austin. Please know, Mr. Mendoza, that this recorded interview will be placed in the South Texas Archives at Texas A&M University-Kingsville and shared with the Voces Oral History Center at the University of Texas at Austin. If there's anything you do not wish to answer or talk about, especially given that your recording may appear online, I will honor your wishes. Also, if there is something you want to talk about, please bring it up and we'll talk about it. Because we are not conducting this interview in person, I need to record you consenting, so I'll ask you a series of 6 questions. Please say yes, I agree, or no, I do not agree after each one. There are 4 questions we need to make sure you agree to before we go on. South Texas Archives at Texas A&M University-Kingsville wishes to archive your interview along with any other photographs and other documentation at the South Texas Archives at Texas A&M University-Kingsville.
I agree.
What's that?
Never mind.
We will retain copyright of the interview and any materials you donate to the South Texas Archives at Texas A&M University-Kingsville. Do you wish us consent to archive your interview and your materials at the Jernigan Library at Texas A&M University-Kingsville?
I agree.
Do you grant South Texas Archives at the Jernigan Library at Texas A&M University-Kingsville copyright over the interview and any material you provide?
I agree.
Do you agree to allow South Texas Archives at the Jernigan Library at Texas A&M University-Kingsville to post this interview on the internet where it may be viewed by people around the world?
I agree.
Do you grant South Texas Archives at the Jernigan Library at Texas A&M University-Kingsville consent to share your interview and your materials with the Voces Oral History Center at the University of Texas at Austin for inclusion in the Voices of a Pandemic Oral History Project, which will include posting the interview on the internet?
I agree.
We have many questions in the pre-interview form that we already filled out. We use that information from the pre-interview form to help in research. The entire form is kept in a secure Voices server at the University of Texas at Austin. The final storing of the pre-interview form will be at the South Texas Archives at the Jernigan Library at Texas A&M University-Kingsville. We will have stripped out any contact information for yourself or family members, so that will not be part of your public file. Your public file will only be accessible to the Jernigan Library. All right, so let's just start. First of all, how are you doing today, Vicente?
Doing good.
Pretty good. All right, so I'm just going to start with a couple of questions, and they're all going to be regarding COVID, so just go ahead and answer as much as you can, and feel free to answer as detailed as possible. All right, so tell me a little bit about your experience with COVID-19. So you could talk about the first time you heard about it and your first reaction to COVID.
First time I heard about it was probably January. I was like in San Antonio, and I didn't think it was gonna get bad at all. There's been viruses before, and usually you've been contained after like a few months of fighting it. But COVID got worse, and when we went on the pandemic, I still did not think I didn't realize the seriousness of COVID at all, because I didn't get it, or did my family during the big pandemic time when we all had to go online for school, had to cancel work, just everything back self isolation. I didn't really think it was that serious until I ended up getting it my first semester here at Temuk, right before I was about to leave for the Christmas break. I ended up getting COVID, so I had to stay here for a while. So, and I did get really, really sick. So now I know the seriousness of COVID.
All right. And just to backtrack a little bit, so first, I didn't get to ask you to introduce yourself. So we already know that you're from Tamuk from what you said right now. So just go ahead and give us a little description about yourself, what you major in, and what you're currently doing right now.
Uh, my name is Vicente Mendoza. Currently majoring in music performance, and right now I play saxophone.
Cool. And what was the first? Was school like the first thing that popped into your head when COVID hit, or when you realized how serious it was? Did you start getting worried about work or school more?
I I didn't think of it very seriously until after my first semester here because I ended up getting it when I was going to come back. I kind of had second doubts. You know, they still gave us the option to go online. I thought about it, but to be honest, like COVID did really mess up a lot of just a lot of the schoolwork and stuff like that. And I had to come back. I couldn't let COVID like just keep me at my house. I had to still come back to school, and but I realized I should come back with more safeness, more precautions. Um, actually think about who I'm going to be um, spending my day with, not just going out and about with anybody who who I was friends with, and not wearing masks. I was more cautious when I came back. And yeah.
And what about your family? Like how seriously did they take the COVID mandates whenever you guys maybe whenever holidays hit? Did you guys actually quarantine and not go out, or was your family a little more lenient on those?
Well, my family, like my mom's on the older side, and my dad, it's not on the older side. I think he would have been fine, but no, my family did take it seriously just in case. My mom has a lot of previous health issues that she's had, and that makes her vulnerable. So it, we took it not super seriously, like where we can't go out anywhere, but we weren't gonna go out if we don't need to. That makes sense. Like we weren't gonna go to the movies or just any public place, just to enjoy ourselves. We'll go probably get some food, stuff like that. But we weren't just gonna go out for any little reason.
Yeah. And whenever you, I guess when they were letting us go out more often, like they opened restaurants and maybe movie theaters, did your family uh always or change all the things that they would take with them? So for example, I know some families were more cautious about taking Germex and like Clorox wipes and masks. Did you guys do all of that stuff?
Yeah, we did all that stuff. I really never used a mask until COVID happened. Like I've never used a mask like that, and now like I have hundreds of them in my car. Same with for my mom and dad. They have a ton of them in their car. My mom carries Germix in her purse. Me and my dad carry Germix in our cars. Just in case something happens. So like now that's feels normal, but 2 years ago, or actually like 3 years ago, you know that would have seemed weird. But now it's like our new normal.
Yeah, definitely agree on that. So back to your to studying at Tamuk, and I know you just said that you're studying music performance. What was the biggest things that gave you trouble when you came back to school with COVID still going on?
When I came back to school, I came back really, really lazy, like academic wise. You know, my senior year was cut short from high school. So like I didn't really even do any homework or any work to begin with, to finish out the year. So when I came back, I still had that mentality. So it was a little hard to to really like snap out of it. Took me like good half the semester just really like putting in the work. And another thing is like online classes. I they were very different compared to how I had them for high school. We would have online classes, but we didn't need to have our cameras on or anything back in high school. And coming to college, we had to try to make this as normal as we can. So, we would have go online, but we would have our cameras on, our audios on, and we had to be on camera. So it was really hard to do that because we're in our own dorm or house or apartment, and we have so much distractions around us. So it really wasn't practical, if you understand me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I definitely understand you. Uh, so I know you on a personal level, and I know you have a lot of friends, other music major friends in other schools. From what you've heard about your friends and comparing that to your experience, do you think Tamuk did a really good job at handling online classes, especially the music program?
Yeah, for sure. Because we were lucky because we didn't really fully go online. Like my first semester here, we had hybrid courses for music, so it gave us still an opportunity to learn these things in person. For this was really good for us. But some of my friends from not from Temuk that went to like other universities such as UT and the northern schools up in Texas, a lot of them were just online. Their theory classes were all online. Their oral trainings classes are online, and I can't like imagine myself being just completely online. So that struggled really struggled a lot for my friends, but I was lucky that Temuk still allowed us to be in school at least 1 or 2 days of the week, be as safe as possible while trying to get all the information in.
And at the school, do you think, or do you notice any changes that you see are going to be permanently implemented at the school, even like maybe rules or mandates that came about because of COVID-19? And do you think they're going to stay for a long time?
Um, Trying to think of some of the rules that we've had, but over time they kind of relaxed the rules. So there's the rules that I had my first semester here are not the same as now. Um, People are doing away with the masks. Um, I don't know. They did get rid of most of the rules and mandates that we've had. So I don't know. I really don't know how to answer the question.
Yeah, that's okay. All right. Okay, so veering off from education or Tamuk, what about vaccinations? When did you get your first vaccination?
I got my first vaccine on January 2021. Was, they just came out maybe a month or two prior. I was lucky to get it in January.
And what was it like? Were you one of the first people to get it, or did you plan on waiting until the line dissipated a little bit?
Well, at first, like I was trying to get the vaccine back in Laredo. That's where I'm from, and Laredo's pretty big. So they only had so many vaccines to go around. But coming back for my second semester here at Temuk, they were offering the vaccine to everybody because they got such a large amount to be able to vaccinate everybody in the town. So yeah, I was one of the first ones that went. The line was really long. Probably waited in line for maybe 3 hours, but I was able to get it. And 2 weeks later, I went back in line to get the second vaccine. So yeah.
And the way that you got it scheduled, I know towards later on you could just maybe register online to get it, but at the describe what it was like to first get it. So did you just show up, or did you find out the times and then like go from there, or how did you get there?
Well, at first, like they were getting shipments in of the vaccine every week. The week before I got my first vaccine, I went and I stayed in line, but they only had so many to go around, and they ended up running out. So um, it was on a first come first serve basis. There was no like um, you know registering for vaccine time or anything. It was just whoever gets here first gets the vaccine. So I remember that next week I ended up going and got there around 6 in the morning. But in line, I wasn't even the first one. I was somewhere in the middle. I was able to get the vaccine. And same thing with the second vaccine. I had to get up really early.
And what about the side effects? Were they like how everyone described, or did you not get any side effects?
Well, the first vaccine, the first one, the first dose, I did not get any side effects. I only had like a sore arm, so I thought I was pretty lucky, and I thought I was going to be the same for the second. But the second vaccine, I ended up getting very like, sick. I guess no, I had like the worst headache. Barely picked myself up. Yeah, it was a pretty bad day, but the next day I ended up feeling a lot better.
Were you hesitant at first to get the vaccine, like knowing that you were going to get side effects or anything like that?
Well, I wasn't really like um, I was never hesitant. Like I'm not a person that really likes shots, but I knew like if the vaccine was going to come out, I was going to do it because I just wanted to get back to normal. I want to be able to go out without having to, bring a mask and things like that. And that was like the first step to doing that. So, it was a no choice for me. So I went quickly as I could.
All right. So this is gonna veer a little towards politics because I know um, a lot of movements or like small movements and political altercations came about during COVID. So, how do you believe politics affected how COVID has been handled?
Well, I feel like many people made COVID into like, they brought it into politics, which I don't think it should have been. No, I identify myself as a Democrat, but I listen to both sides. I'm not just one side only. And from what I saw, there was good and bad on both sides of the political side. But I felt like COVID was used as ammunition for each other, for each party, just try to get their own ways to um, their policies passed. And I don't think it should have been a you know like a political statement at all. Like just go get vaccinated. Be courteous to your neighbors and be able to stay safe without getting anybody else sick. And, some people didn't really think that through. Um, they're more into their freedom and stuff like that. And personally, I don't agree with that. Um, I feel like if all of us in the country would have taken better seriousness in the beginning, probably would have not have had it this long, going this long. We probably would have stopped the spread. Maybe after a year, and it should have not taken. I think 2 years that we're in right now. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And since you mentioned, thinking about the safety of others, what did you have other family members in your family that were affected and that made you realize, oh, we should take better care of each other, like in this area?
I to be honest, like none of my family members, I don't think ever got COVID bad. And like, I think I was probably the first one to get COVID out of like, you know, my immediate family and my extended family. So, I started thinking about, everybody else once I got it because I remember probably one of the worst viruses I've ever had. I've never felt so sick in my life. But, ever since, I got it, I just knew that we had to take more precaution against COVID.
Yeah, that's pretty straightforward. Thank you. So, I know in our pre-interview, you told me that you didn't work, but do you want to elaborate on when you mentioned how you were actually planning to work before COVID? So, what were your plans going to be like if COVID hadn't happened?
I was planning to work the summer before going into college. I didn't really have much money, so any job was gonna help. And I was applied at like four different places with a good friend of mine. And because of COVID, a lot of these places weren't even hiring anymore. They're trying to keep the same staff and trying to keep staff smaller so they can stop the spread of COVID between themselves. So I didn't get hired at any of those places. So trying to pay for college was a little tough before going into my first semester here.
And I know like some financial stability actually came about from the school. So how did the school help you financially?
Well, school helped us with it started with the CARES Act. I think that's what it's called. They got a certain amount of money and they were going to give it out to people that were affected by COVID. And um, like my dad, his work slowed down a lot. You know, we were barely making it by during the summer. So using that as evidence to show that my parents can't help me while I'm here. I have very little money to even pay for my bill, so I was able to get help from that CARES Act, and it really helped me out for the first two semesters here.
That's good. And how long has the how many semesters so far have you been given the CARES Act or the HERF grant?
Well, I got the CARES Act first two semesters, and then they came up with a HERF grant my third semester here. I, Everyone applied, and I think everybody got it. So that helped me out, even though I got not that much. It was still something to be able to pay my bills and stay afloat here while I'm here.
And how did it feel to get those grants or that financial help?
It felt like a relief because my first semester here, I still owed 4,000, and I did not know where I was going to come up $4,000. And being a music major, it's hard to even get a job. Try to juggle a job, homework, your schoolwork, and your practice schedule. It did not make practical sense to me. Like I wasn't going to be able to pay that $4,000, so I was pretty happy when I got it.
Yeah. And going back, since I know you didn't work and you were able to get that financial help, um, how do you view the music major life in general? So I know I veered off from school, but now going back to it, how do you view like being at school and having so much to do and being expected to pay so much for school for tuition?
Well, being a music major is really, really hard. There's days where, especially your first 2 years, are going to probably be some of the more harder years because you starting with your theory courses that most of us don't know any bit of theory or ear training, and our practice schedules, and a lot of people have different practice schedules. So being able to practice with ensembles stuff like that made it hard. So your day's looking at around 12 hours, every day. Being at school at 8 in the morning, not leaving to maybe 7 p.m. Even there was times where I would stay to 9, 10. Friends of mine that I was in an ensemble with couldn't meet as a group until that time. So the hours were really, really hard trying to juggle everything. Yeah. And being able, like, doing all that and still trying to, like, you're worrying about trying to be able to pay for school because school's really, really expensive, takes a toll on, takes a toll on mental health. And, luckily, like, I didn't have to go without paying for more than a few weeks. That's when the CARES Act came in. I was able to, like, I could focus just on my music and not worrying about how I was going to pay for school.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And me being a music major as well, I definitely understand where you're coming from. So, going back to when we first came back to school and we were expected to perform in ensembles and marching band, what were some things that they came up with in the musicianship world that you can remember, like masks and.
Well, we use a special type of mask so we could be able to put our mouthpieces through the masks and still wear a mask while we're playing. That was a little hard to adjust, you know. Being able to remember to bring your mask and washing your mask every week, you know, it was a hassle. Then we would have belt covers, so it's like a little cover to put on around your belt, so none of the particles go out. So those were some of the things that we did in the music world. And there's another thing. We would have like smaller ensembles, like flex ensembles. It's just smaller ensembles, basically, and being able to try to stay with the 6 feet guidance that CDC had, and the band would be a lot smaller, but you know, we would still be able to play.
And did you feel safe using just the bell cover and the mask with the hole in it to play your instrument?
Yeah, I felt safe. Everybody around took COVID pretty seriously too. So, you know, if we had any symptoms, you know, we would let everybody we know get in contact and everything. So like if if I would see someone there, you know, I would trust like I trusted them that they don't have any symptoms, and everybody was pretty good doing that, and they got any sign of symptoms they would stay home. I felt pretty safe.
Did you get to join the marching band or participate in marching band during this time?
Yeah, I did join the marching band.
And what did you think that it was unfair to go since you would have to be wearing a mask or a playing mask in the heat, in the South Texas heat?
It was really hard, and there's many times where I had to like step out and just take a breather because you know the the Kingsville weather, you get the South Texas heat on top of the humidity from the ocean that's like maybe 40 minutes away. So a lot harder for all of us. And you know, I've never been bothered by any heat, but you know, adding a mask on that it really bothered me a lot. But you know, we all had to adapt somehow, and that's what we all did.
And so your music performance, but do you ever want to teach in the future?
I do plan on teaching. I'm also a double major for music ed, so I'm getting that as well. But right now, my focus is on performance. But I do plan on teaching. My goal is to be a hopefully a college professor someday. But you know, I might do high school or middle school band. You know, as long as I get to teach, that's all that matters to me.
So the reason I asked that was in the future, in case that something like this ever happens again where there's a pandemic and you were dealing with marching band or anything music related, is there anything that you would take with you, like maybe advice for yourself or other teachers during this pandemic in the future if it did happen?
Yeah, I guess just have more patience. You know, this pandemic really tests a lot of our patience, and you know, some people were couldn't handle holding their patience in. So you know, it turned like teaching, teaching like getting taught from people like that couldn't really hold their patience was really hard. But yeah, that's what I would have for myself in the future.
And what would you say were some unexpected or cool things that came about like in the online music world? For example, like new compositions and composers and such. Anything specific?
Well, there's many composers making music that you could be able to perform with people that are thousands of miles away from you and be able to like have an online performance. And you know, that was one thing that I really liked that the music world did. And you know, I was part of a group that took a lot took out took the I'm trying to find the word took advantage of the of those composers, or we're not taking advantage of them, but taking advantage of their generosity and being able to do all those music, and you know, playing with people that you know we probably won't ever play with because you know I'm here in Kingsville and the other person is in New York. So being able to do that was a lot of fun.
And I know, like I mentioned earlier, how you have a lot of friends in the music world. Where did you meet all of those people through online because of the pandemic?
I met all those people through online during the pandemic. I had a friend of mine. We decided to make a group and be able to play music with all these different saxophonists. Just asking them, hey, you wanna join us, and we'll be doing this, and that turned into a lot of friendships that are being made. I have friends that are currently in Oklahoma, and I met them during COVID, online, and I wouldn't replace them for anything. They've helped me so much, and I've helped them so much. So yeah.
That's cool. And did you find any technology or drawn to any technology that came about in the music world?
What do you mean?
So I know iPads were being used more often and
Hmm.
like more or better recording equipment. Did you like buy any of that stuff or get
Yeah,
onto that?
I ended up buying an iPad, so like I don't really like get music from directors or my professors. Trying stuff. Made it a lot easier just to have it on my iPad. I could have everything on my iPad, and if I had to share music with somebody, all I had to do was just email it to them, and made it a lot easier. Made life a lot easier.
Yeah. And it felt safer to do that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it felt a lot safer.
that's good. So is there anything else that you would like to tell me or maybe mention about about COVID-19 or any of your experiences, maybe more political stuff? I know we didn't get really that deep into the political aspects, like the Black Lives Matter movement. How did you feel during that time?
You know, I remember seeing the news headline about George Floyd, and it made me really, really upset with what's going on. It's been a problem ever since this country was made. You know, late 1700s. So, we might have kicked out slavery and all these different things that really didn't give other people that are not white. Uh, I don't know how to explain this, but even though we got rid of slavery and all these things, racism still exists. It's not just in your history books. It's going on right now. Seeing George Floyd, made me mad that we're still dealing with this problem. Yeah,
And seeing as we're the same generation that was starting up that movement and really fighting back, do you think it was right of us to speak out? A lot of people really put our generation down because of how much we speak out, but do you think that we're in the right for doing so?
yeah, we're in the right. Most people that disagreed with us and disagreed with a lot of us, they're used to it. Like they're used to it. They're born in 50s, 60s when that was like very, very segregation was very, very, very heavy in that during that time. So they're used to it. But this is normal what's going on when in actuality it's not normal.
Hmm. And do you think that it would have happened with COVID or without COVID?
It was gonna happen either way. It was gonna happen with COVID or and without COVID. It was just something brewing.
All right. Is there anything else that you would like to add to to this to this interview? And it could be about anything that you experienced during the pandemic. Once again.
I don't know. I think I told you everything actually. Everything. I didn't really go through much during COVID. You know, my life got more simple. I guess that's the most I could say. It got more simple, but I don't regret anything that has ever happened. COVID really like it changes a lot, and without COVID, it probably wouldn't have had the friendships I've had, and I'm not saying COVID was a good thing, but you know, I don't I don't regret. doing all the stuff that I did during these past 2 years of COVID. Being able to adapt and everybody's safe.
And since this is going in the archives at both UT and here at Texas A&M University-Kingsville, is there anything that you would like to say, a message, whether it's about music, whether it's about passion that you have for music, or any last statements or advice that you have for anyone that might watch your interview in the future?
I guess I would say for music majors, don't give up. Music is really, really hard, and being able to keep up with that life, that 12-hour days. Um, don't don't give up. Uh, and don't don't slack off. That's what I'm gonna say. Always always be on the game. And if you need a break, take a break. Take a break. Take a break. I had to learn that the hard way. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for doing this interview with me,
Thank
Vicente.
you.
All right. I'll see you later. Thank
All
you.
right.